Peace in this video.
There's a story in John 5 where Jesus heals a lame man at the pool of Bethesda who's been lame for 38 years. Jesus heals him and then later on meets him in the temple. And I was reading this story from the Mirror Study Bible, and listen what this says in verse 14. A little later, Jesus found him in the synagogue and said, "See, you've become whole. Do not continue in your old distorted mindset. Then nothing worse can happen to you." And just that translation, that way of thinking about it, most translations say, go and sin no more so that nothing worse happens to you. And I think for whatever reason, our mind, when we hear the word sin, immediately goes to action, like actions of sin, as opposed to thinking, wrong thinking. And Jesus addresses this issue of wrong thinking, that it's big to him, that it's the motives of the heart are what drive wrong actions. And so I just loved how that brought out, don't continue in your old distorted mindset. Well, that made me think about the question that he asks the man in the very beginning. When he goes to him, he says, do you want to be whole? Do you want to be healed? Which seems like a strange question. Clearly this man wants to be healed. He's laying at the pool. He's been there for 38 years. But it's like he's showing us something by asking that question. And in verse 6, do you want to be made well? It challenges this man's belief system, because how he responds gives him away. He responds by giving excuses. He says, I have no one to help me. Someone always gets there first. And so what is that thought pattern? That is a thought pattern of dependence, of defeat, of reliance on external help. And so Jesus now, by saying, get up, take your bed and walk, he invites him into a new way of thinking, to shift his thinking to align with a truth that is facing him. And he does. He latches on. He grabs onto that truth. He gets up, he's healed, and he walks. But perhaps what Jesus is showing us by asking these questions and then telling him that later on is, don't go back to an old way of thinking that will lead to even worse than, being paralyzed for 38 years. It is your thinking that is now aligned with truth. Stay in that.